On a quiet Kentucky night in the early 1800s, smoke curled from a farm's wooden smokehouse, the same place where families once gathered for meals and warmth. But behind those walls, something far darker than pork was cooking. What would drive the enslaved to turn the master's pride into his final punishment? The year is 1807, deep in the Kentucky frontier, where rolling hills press against the Ohio River and thick forests hold the cries of night birds. A smokehouse squats near the main house of a prosperous farm, its stone walls blackened by decades of salted meats, its rafters dripping with fat hardened by years of feasts. The air around it smells of hickory and pork, a scent that makes the master's mouth water and the enslaved stomachs ache. On Sundays, when the white family gathers at a long table crowded with roasts and pies, the slaves watch from the shadows, hands calloused from toil, lips dry with hunger. The master lifts his silver fork, his children laugh, and the enslaved know the food in the smokehouse is not for them. The man who rules this land is named William, though his slaves call him Massa with a voice that trembles. His wealth is measured not only in acres, but in bodies. Human beings whose sweat waters his corn and whose pain secures his comfort. His wife Elizabeth drapes herself in imported silks and perfumes that float through the halls like a mockery of the stench of sweat in the quarters. Even the children have inherited the cruel ease of power, mimicking their father's barked commands, delighting in the way their words can make grown men bow. The overseer, a whip always coiled at his hip, ensures that no hand slows, no back straightens too long beneath the sun. Among the enslaved, there is silence that cuts deeper than the lash. Their world is the cramped cabins at the edge of the fields, where smoke from the master's kitchen drifts across the night air as if taunting them with what they will never taste. They dream in whispers, careful not to let hope betray them. Yet even in chains, stories pass from mouth to mouth. Tales of resistance, of slaves who ran north and never returned, of vengeance whispered like a prayer. The land itself seems to hold the divide. The master's parlor glows with lamplight, polished wood gleaming under boots and gowns, while outside the mud sticks to the slave's bare feet. The contrast is unbearable. Warmth inside, cold and damp without. Bellies full in one room, stomachs hollow in another. In the smokehouse, meat hangs heavy from iron hooks, glistening with grease, and the enslaved who enter to fetch or carry know its treasures only by scent. To William and Elizabeth, the smokehouse is pride. To those they own, it is torment. And in that torment, a seed is planted, for the place of plenty might one day be turned against its master. It begins with a punishment that goes too far. William, drunk from whiskey, decides one evening that a man accused of stealing scraps from the smokehouse must be made an example. The lash falls not 10 times, but 50, each crack slicing through the night air like thunder. Flesh tears, blood spatters the dust, and when the body finally crumples, silence spreads over the quarters. In that silence, a change sparks. The slaves know then that their master's cruelty will never end on its own. The man who suffers most is called Josiah, a broad-shouldered field hand who carries scars from childhood beatings. He has endured years of back-breaking labor, his spirit bent but not broken. In his heart burns a memory of nights with his mother, when she hummed African songs under the stars, when she told him that freedom was not just a dream, but a birthright. Her words live inside him, buried deep, until William's latest cruelty forces them to the surface. That night, as he presses cloth against the wounds of his friend, Josiah feels something shift. Fear no longer holds him. Rage sharpens into resolve. The antagonists stand tall in his mind, each figure etched with their own brand of cruelty. William, the master, with his swollen pride and easy violence. Elizabeth, whose hands never touch a whip, but whose eyes glitter with approval whenever pain is inflicted. The overseer, whose voice rings with threats, his whip an extension of his arm. Even the children, raised to sneer at the enslaved, laugh when suffering unfolds before them. Each of them, Josiah thinks, plays a role in the chain that binds him, and chains can be broken. The air on the farm grows heavy as autumn storms gather. Nights are long, skies split open with lightning, and the fields turn to mud. In the quarters, whispers take root. Some call Josiah mad, others call him brave, but all listen as he speaks of justice. He begins to watch the smokehouse with new eyes, its stone walls, its iron hooks, its locked door. Once a place of torment, now a tool. The thought grows louder, a rhythm in his mind, until even the smell of hickory smoke seems to beckon him toward destiny. Foreshadowing curls through the landscape. A pig squeals in the yard, dragged toward the smokehouse for slaughter, and Josiah sees the master's hand guiding the knife. In that moment, a vision forms. The oppressor brought low by his own pride, the smokehouse turned into a tomb. Each day that passes, the idea solidifies, no longer fantasy, but plan. His voice steadies when he speaks to the others, his back straightens, his eyes no longer cast downward. He's not a victim now. He is an agent of what is to come. The master's laughter rings through the big house, but it no longer echoes the same. For in the quarters, a storm is gathering, and Josiah is its center. The night chosen is one without moonlight, the sky veiled in clouds, the air thick and damp. Josiah rises before the others, heart steady, steps slow and deliberate. He has replayed this moment countless times in his mind, turning it over like a blade, until it shines with certainty. The smokehouse looms in the distance, its roof dripping with dew, its door locked with the same iron that has mocked their hunger for years. To the master, it is pride. To Josiah, it is justice waiting to be born. Inside his chest, his thoughts beat louder than his pulse. Every lash, every hunger, every night stolen. He thinks of his mother's songs, of her promise that chains are not eternal. Tonight he will prove her right. He gathers tools not of steel, but of necessity. A rope hidden beneath his cot, an old knife sharpened on stone, a heavy mallet taken from the fields. Each object rests in his grip with quiet weight, not for frenzy, but for purpose. When William stumbles from the big house, drunk on whiskey, Josiah is waiting. His eyes do not blink as the master snarls a question, then falters at the sight of the rope. With one swift motion, Josiah seizes him, pulling him down with the strength of years, forged in toil. The overseer hears the commotion and rushes forward, whip raised. But Josiah meets him with the mallet. A single crack echoes in the night like a shot, and the overseer crumples. Silence follows, silence heavy as thunder before a storm. Elizabeth's cries rise from the porch, shrill and sharp, but Josiah's hand does not tremble. He binds William and drags him across the yard, the master's boots leaving furrows in the earth. The path ends at the smokehouse, the place of fat and fire. The key rattles, the door swings, and the smell of hickory embraces them both. William shouts, curses, pleads, but Josiah hears only the echoes of suffering buried in those walls. He ties the master to the iron hooks once reserved for meat, each knot a memory of pain returned. The others join him, silent shadows in the night. Their eyes are wide, their hands clenched, their breaths fast. But none move to stop him. They watch as Josiah lights the fire, the flames licking upward, smoke curling like a living thing. He does not rage. He does not scream. He simply works, methodical and unbroken, as if carrying out a long-delayed duty. The master's voice grows hoarse, his threats collapsing into pleas. Elizabeth bangs at the locked door, but the heat rises, the smoke thickens, and the cries fade into the roar of fire. The smokehouse, once the symbol of the master's pride, has become his grave. In the darkness outside, the enslaved stand together, silent and still, as if bearing witness to history. Josiah lowers his head, not in shame but in solemnity. The deed is done. The storm has broken. Justice has found its fire. Morning does not come quietly. The farm awakens to screams, to smoke rising black against the pale dawn. Neighbors arrive, eyes wide with horror, whispers carrying faster than the wind. The tale spreads before the flames have even cooled. William, Elizabeth, the overseer, all gone, consumed in the place they once exalted. Some call it savagery, others call it reckoning. Either way, the story will not be silenced. Josiah and a handful of others flee into the forests, their feet pounding against roots and stones, driven by more than survival. Behind them lies fire and ash. Ahead lies uncertainty. But between those worlds rests the brief taste of freedom. Some are captured within days, dragged before makeshift courts, their bodies chained, their names cursed in the newspapers. The trial is swift, the punishment brutal, but none of it can erase what has already been written in the hearts of those who remain. For the smokehouse, once a prison of hunger, has been transformed into a symbol of defiance. The countryside buzzes with fear. Slaveholders whisper to one another in hushed tones, voices shaking. For if one man like Josiah could turn the tools of servitude into weapons of rebellion, what might happen if others follow? Mothers hush their children tighter at night, overseers grip their whips with unease, and the very ground of Kentucky feels less secure beneath the boots of the powerful. The story grows with each retelling, embroidered with rumor until fact and legend blur, but the core remains unshaken. The enslaved took their vengeance, and the master fell where he believed himself untouchable. Years pass, but the tale does not fade. In cabins far from Kentucky, in whispers passed along rivers and across fields, Josiah's name surfaces like a spark. To the enslaved, he becomes a shadowed hero, proof that even the strongest chains can break. To the masters, he is a nightmare made flesh, a reminder that fear flows both ways. The smokehouse itself crumbles with time, its stones sinking into the earth, but its ghost lingers. Travelers speak of strange silence when they pass its ruins, of air thick with the smell of char long gone. Parents tell their children never to wander too close. Yet in the secret gatherings of those who still dream of freedom, the story is repeated with fire in their eyes. Josiah did not die in vain. He left behind a legend, carved in smoke and blood, a warning and a beacon alike. And so the tale enters history, half truth and half myth, woven into the fabric of America's hidden past. It asks a question that cannot be easily dismissed. When cruelty is endless, what lengths will the oppressed go to reclaim their humanity? The answer burns in the memory of that Kentucky night, when the smokehouse turned from a storehouse of meat into a pyre of justice, and one man's resolve lit the path for countless others.